Good afternoon, good night, people. Um, I want to talk a little boxing with you guys. It's going to be brief, but we're going to talk a little bit of boxing, and then I'm going to move on my way. So, man, just hearing Adonis Stevenson's story and what he's going to do with his second life is awesome. So, Adonis Stevenson came to December 25th, and for 3 weeks, the doctors was telling his wife that he wasn't going to make it. He needed to pull the plug on him because he's brain dead. It's amazing that he came back from that. Of course, prayers and God brought him back for a reason. And he has a second life. He spoke about wanting to be a trainer of fighters and taking kids off the street and giving them another life. So that's really awesome. Um, there's another fighter who has retired from boxing, Ryan Burnett. He's the guy that was beaten by Nonito Donaire in the Super Series. He was the unified IBF WBA bantamweight champion. He actually was the super champion, WBA super champion. So he's retired from boxing because of his injury that he sustained in the Donaire fight. Could have had it before. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know I didn't do any video today. Um, as to Adonis Stevenson, just hearing his whole testimony, how the mindset of a fighter, how he was willing and ready to learn how to speak again, learn how to walk again, learn how to stand again, learn how to move again. Just incredible. But then again, he was always zealous and enthusiastic to learn all over again everything. And his motivation was his daughter because his dad died when he was born. So he never had a father, and he was just motivated very heavily once he awoke from his coma to walk again, talk again, and be normal because his daughter had been born I think it was a couple weeks. So he was motivated to be there for her. And it's just incredible how powerful the human mind is. And these boxers know about that because they push themselves to the max. And so the same mentality he had for boxing is the same mentality he had for his life. And it's just incredible what he has accomplished. And also what God allowed him to accomplish, knowing the constituents of him. Several doctors thought that he wasn't going to make it, and so they wanted to pull the plug on him. Now, that's interesting because I do believe this happened to a number of fighters as well, where doctors probably pulled the plug on them with the acceptance of the families. And when someone is in a coma, or even if they say they're brain dead, when they're in a coma where brain activity is almost minimal, people need to understand the body can heal very, very, very well. So even under extreme trauma, a body can come back from, given enough time, it can come back out of a coma. And it depends on, of course, the different triggers that you give them. I think he sensed that his wife was there with him. They were speaking about something outside of medicine, but I don't believe that. I believe everything's medically related, spiritually, physically, and mentally. All three barriers must be ticked. Just like how physically, mentally, and spiritually a boxer must be ready for a fight. Similarly, physically, mentally, and spiritually, health involves all those three levels. So I don't believe in what the nonsense that some doctors say, and that's why I still want to be a medical doctor but to go beyond what medical doctors know and understand, because there's a lot of facets of the human being, like I was trying to explain to people. All right, take for instance, I love the internet because it's a perfect thing for people to really understand what I'm talking about. Because you can see my face, you can physically feel my emotions, right? So as I'm talking to you, you're feeling certain things that I'm sending across. And all of these vibrations that I'm sending to you, right, whether it's via the auditory or visual, they're being interpreted by your brain. But how are these signals coming to you? They have been translated into a digital signal, then they come back to a visual signal and an audio signal. But the spiritual aspect of this, which is just simply the invisible aspect of it, is that you're feeling whatever vibe or emotion I have. your mind's actually compositing this information. You're not only feeling it in a audio visual way via digital signals, but there's another part that a lot of people don't know about, which is that I'm also telepathically sending signals to you. Your brain operates at different frequencies. There are delta, epsilon, gamma, alpha, beta waves, which are very weak waves, which actually are transmitted from the brain. We are like transponders. We actually transmit signals every time we think, every time there's a brain activity in our head. There's literally a composite which gives off a combined signal. All right, and we've been studying this extensively. When I was doing research back in Loma Linda, we were studying these different signals that the brain actually generates, these electromagnetic frequencies, which are very weak, but they travel very far. So you're not only feeling the audio visual signals that I am sending out to you, but you're actually feeling also my thoughts, my sentiment. You're actually feeling that as well. It's the same thing when you're reading words off a page, but in this case, when you read words off a page, it's not time dependent. So the person may have transmitted their thoughts and feelings onto a page, and it's not just the words you're reading, but you're actually also feeling in your own personal way the thoughts and feelings of that writer, and you will pick up some of that energy off of um, off of them. Okay. So that when Adonis Stevenson's wife was in the room, he felt her presence, he felt her thoughts. There was an interface between his signaling from his brain and her signaling from her brain directly to him. And the intensity of that signaling depends on, okay, I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, for example, someone who's not physically there with you, if you start to intensely think about them, you're thinking about them all the time. They're in your thoughts all the time, right? All of a sudden, that person will present themselves and they will appear before you, whether it's through internet or whatever. These people will show up. Have you ever had something where you're talking about somebody and then all of a sudden they just call you or they appear out of nowhere? It's because, again, you're interfacing with a certain frequency. We're like radio waves. So when you dial into a certain frequency, you're able to literally hone in and focus in on that individual. And we call that a spiritual connection. Mothers, when they're so concerned about their children, they say it's a sixth sense. They know when their children are in trouble and stuff. They feel them. It's basically the same thing. And it's very independent of space and time because, well, not, yes, space and time as well, but it's independent of space because these frequencies are weak frequencies, so they can travel very far. All right. And they move at the speed, electromagnetic spectrum, they move at that speed, whatever it is. So I'm just saying this so that some of you guys will understand that medicine doesn't cater for these things. And it's strange because we have so much electromagnetic devices, we should be able to understand that this is part of, we are also electromagnetic beings. We have a electromagnetic field. We give off electromagnetic flux. We interchange and interface with each other via electromagnetic means. We speak about someone's presence when they enter a room or their aura and all of this stuff. It has to do with electromagnetic fields, okay? So breaking it down, these are spiritual things. And so why I'm talking about this is because I think a lot of people out there are not aware of the spiritual element to things. And all spiritual means is invisible. So these are like, electricity is invisible for the most part. It can be translated into sparks and stuff. So I just wanted to say that. Christopher Smith, hey, what's with Ryan Burnett? Is this to do with his default loss to the Filipino Flash? Well, he had a win afterwards, but he hurt his arm. You remember in that fight, he hurt his arm, and he's not been able to come back into boxing. His arm didn't get better. So he's out of boxing. He retired from the sport, 27 years old, accomplished quite a lot, but really there was a lot more. The world was his oyster, but he just couldn't. His arm was so messed up. I don't know if it was a bad surgery or what, but he's retired from boxing, and that's a sensible thing to do. Get out of the sport while you can. And so at age 27, he's out of boxing. But this guy did achieve some wonderful things. Got the IBF title, won it off of Edges Reginovich. Adonis, you met the small little kid from Eastern Europe, very tenacious dude. And then, or was that Lee Selby? I think it was Lee Selby. Sorry, my bad. I'm mixing him up. He beats, I can't remember who he beat to get the IBF title. And then after that, he unified with, I can't remember who he unified with either. But he was the IBF and WBA super champion. All right, people. So I wanted to talk about him because I think BT Sports did a little coverage on him where he's retired from the sport. But we wish him well. Different people retire on different terms. Some people have to retire from boxing because they get hurt, like Adonis Stevenson. He's very fortunate to have a wife and family and people who prayed for him and did not give up on him. And then he just took the baton from there. He was never supposed to talk, walk, none of those things. He took the baton from there, and he just took it, man. We saw him in the WBC convention. Still has a little problems walking around, but he's about 70% what he used to be. He can do a little boxing, and he's going to be a trainer. So he's out of the sport from here on in, but he's going to be a trainer. And God, thank you, Jesus. He gives a lot of hope to a lot of people who get brain traumatic injury. And medical science needs to really look into these other avenues I just spoke about, the mental and the spiritual aspect. And a lot of doctors are very pessimistic about fighters and patients, a lot about patients, period. And they just quit. There are a lot of doctors who quit. And that's another thing why I wanted to get into medicine is because I always felt that you should be honest with patients, tell them, the challenges that face. But as a goddamn doctor, you should be somebody who's hopeful and say, we don't really got a great shot, but you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power. And by God's grace, because I'm a Christian, by God's grace, we'll see what we can do to help you get through with your situation. You need to be positive. A lot of these doctors are so fucking negative, man. Because they count on things that they know. And in medicine, quite frankly, there's so much shit we don't know. I've been in research. I was a biomedical researcher. And there's so much shit we don't know, man. It's just really stupid for a lot of these people to be saying that, there's no hope for this guy. How the fuck do you know that? Tell them that as far as I know, I don't know I don't know what to do here, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to give it a shot. So many times I've heard doctors say this person's not going to make it, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? So many of these fucking doctors do that. And when we look at, and then the patients make it, okay? It's just one of those things where these fucking doctors need to at least, get up on your fucking craft. Learn things beyond just fucking what you know about medicine. Push your anvils, push the boundaries. That's what fucking boxers do. I mean, come on, man. So anyway, and not to say that doctors don't do a great job in medicine. Medicine has come a long way. But it's just like, these motherfuckers, man, they like come from a textbook and they just don't realize there's an ocean of shit out there. And unless you've done research, you'll understand how much we don't know shit. Okay? We just don't know shit. Okay? There's a lot of shit we don't know. Okay? But anyways, back to what I was saying. So, Adonis Stevenson, great dude, and the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because my mother died. They said cancer took her. It wasn't fucking cancer that took her, first of all. And it really annoys me because she died of asphyxiation. She basically brought up fluid and it went into her lungs and filled it up. Okay. And this shit just really annoys me because when you're hands-on, you really invested in somebody, but they believe in anyways, man. I was about to go ham on some people, but you know what? I'm gonna just chill because it's a negative vibe. But I'm just saying that there's a lot these fucking medical doctors still need to learn about the fucking medicine, and a lot of them, shit, man. Just be learnable, be teachable. Fucking life is a teachable thing, man. God damn it. But anyways, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. And in the fucking media be pushing medicine in a certain kind of way, and it is what it is. All right. So back to what I was saying. So I'm just so happy about Adonis Stevenson, man. And we're 15 minutes in. I'm gonna wrap this video up. But shout out to each and every one of you guys. Who's the dude that just Christopher Smith, man? Yeah. Christopher Smith says, or has he suffered career-ending injuries? Well, the arm is a for him. It's been a career-ending injury, you know. And best if you ain't got a good arm, you might as well just get out of the sport for now. So he's decided to stay out of the sport for the moment. So he stepped out. Yeah, you know, P. Rug had the same problem with I think it was compressed discs or slip discs. You know, and you know, it is what it is, right? There's a lot I could say on these different things, but I just choose not to say anything on them right now. You know, it depends on your mindset and how what kind of information you get. Depending on, you see, in boxing or in anything, it's all about the information you get. You know, and if you get the right information, it could really help your situation or hurt your situation. It depends on what you do with the information. You know, in the case of Adonis Stevenson, the belief and the faith that they had was real. So he got the right information. He utilized the information, and he he also got a lot of support, um, but he was able to make it. Okay, um, you know. So, anyways, and because he was a fighter, you know, and they applied their will, and they applied their belief and their confidence, he was able to do things, you know, based on that background. Okay. Yes. Now Ryan Burnett, like I said before, was a good, solid fighter, man. He was a good fighter. He was favored to beat Nonito Donaire. Donaire was closing it down on him, but he owed his shoulder, you know. And that's it for him in boxing. But I'm sure there are other areas and avenues he can explore outside of the sport of boxing, where he can be very influential and effective. And I'm sure that there's a place for him, hopefully. Because, I mean, when you become so successful in the sport of boxing, there's, as much as people talk about, there's a dime a dozen world champions out there, there are not a lot of bona fide world champions. Bona fide. What I mean by that is, okay, so Jamal Charlo, he won the WBC. He got the WBC title by fighting an interim fight. Keith Thurman, the same thing. I think he got the WBA by winning an interim fight, right? That's how he got it. That's how he was promoted to WBC champion. He never fought the real guy. And some people, they fight for vacant titles, right? So it's kind of like the same in that respect, because it's like, the kind of like the real champion vacated his title. So like Floyd Mayweather, who was the WBA super champ, it's basically like he was there, but really he vacated the regular championship. And Keith Thurman gets the regular belt, right? It's kind of stupid, but it is what it is, right? And then when it comes to franchise champion, well, Devin Haney, Devin Haney now is the WBC champion because he was the interim champion. So it's his interim fights that determined and made him a champion. Now, a lot of people are like, but Devin Haney never gets the chance to face Lomachenko because Lomachenko's there. And it's true. I mean, again, I understand what everybody is saying, but if you really look at boxing history, okay, everybody talk about Sugar Ray Robinson was the best thing since sliced bread and all that bullshit. He fought for vacant title. You do know that, right? At welterweight. That was the title. He never faced the man. He faced him before and beat his ass, but I'm talking about for the championship, he never beat them. He never faced the man and beat him. All right? Of course, the man, he gave reasons to say he got a broken nose, blah, 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 but really, that dude didn't want no piece of Sugar Ray Robinson, right? It's what it is, right? Hold on a second. Man, I fell asleep all day. I was sleeping most of the day. Yeah. Okay. So my point being this, right? That Sugar Ray Robinson fought for a vacant title. He didn't face the dude. So at the end of the day, people are making much ado about Devin Haney not facing Lomachenko, but people respect Keith Thurman for being the regular champion and unifying. The thing is, what do you do if you can't get the champion, right? If you can't make a name of a Lomachenko, okay, or you can't say you faced him, what you gonna do? Make your own legacy, right? You just roll on, make your own legacy. So that's what you got to do, you know. It is what it is, you know. So people making much ado about nothing, but in my opinion, it's boxing. A lot of people are stressing out about it. Like I said before, that they are making statements and stuff about how this is sacrilege and is Lomachenko ducking Devin Haney and blah 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 blah. But listen, man, I'm just being real with you guys. It is what it is. You guys gonna have to get used to the franchise champion. It's what it is. All right. Fans clamoring for Lomachenko versus Devin Haney ain't gonna make that fight happen. Right? It's not going to. I wish I could say it would, but it more than likely won't. And that fight isn't it's not possible. Devin's going up in weight. He gonna fight. Now he's got a title. Probably gonna defend it. Maybe one more fight with Luke Campbell. And then he's gonna go up to super lightweight. He's not gonna be able to hold lightweight for that long. He was shooting for the Lomachenko fight, which is why he went the WBC direction. And it is what it is. Lomachenko, obviously, he's going to try to unify with the Comey Teofimo Lopez winner. And one or two things will happen. Either he'll go down in weight to super featherweight where he's comfortable. He said he's most comfortable there. Or he may face Gervonta Davis if that fight presents itself as his first defense, which would be a great first defense. And then he's going to go down to super featherweight, whatever the outcome. If he can, first of all, he has to successfully unify. If he does not successfully unify, the winner of Comey Teofimo Lopez will become the undisputed champion. So, will he? No, not really. They won't, which is fucked up, but it is what it is. They're going to have to face Devin Haney. If they beat him, then they'll be undisputed. But in the meantime, they will have Lomachenko and they will have most of his belts, right? Except for the WBC, which is fucked up, in my opinion. They'll still have a WBC diamond. I wish the WBC would say, you know what, let's have the special belt, the WBC whatever the fuck, WBC something, so that the person has become undisputed. Even though there's a regular WBC champion. They need to do something like that. Just like how they have the super champion fight. And you win the super champion belt. Then that means that now you are unified, right? You won't have the regular belt, but you have the super champion. You need to have something like that. Because the diamond belt don't mean shit. Having a diamond belt means what? You're still not undisputed, which is dumb. You should be able to face the real champion. The real champion is the franchise champion. Okay, in this case, the real champion is the franchise champion. So you should be able to, after beating the franchise champion, not have to fight nobody else. I think the WBC is doing something rather stupid by making the person who faces the franchise champion and beats them just get the diamond belt. What does that fucking mean? It means nothing. So you got, and just collecting belts, what does that mean? It's just collecting belts. Belts must mean something. If you're going to have the diamond belt, then that diamond belt should be like the equivalent of a super champion belt. It should mean something. It means the person is undisputed. If the franchise champion has all the rest of the belts, it should be undisputed, right? And this is the kind of crap we have to deal with. So the sanctioning body should have thought about that. It's not like you're overlooking the WBC champion. It's just that the fucking franchise champion is supersedes the fucking WBC champion in this case. Okay, and it's not that the WBC champion can't unify himself as well and become undisputed. It should be that you should be able to do that as well because the franchise champion don't necessarily going to stay in that weight class. They can move up or down. So, but if you beat the franchise champion, you should be considered undisputed, especially if you got all the other belts at stake. You should be. And I think they need to figure that out. WBC needs to figure that shit out and work that shit out because it'll make no fucking sense. You going in and having to face the regular champion. It's just stupid. Like, oh, you're the number one contender. Who gives a fuck? You should be able to become undisputed in the same fight. So that's the ridiculousness. If they clean up that, we're good. Okay? The WBA has it nice and clean. You become the super champion. That means you ain't no mandatories. But you're only a super champion in that division. With the franchise champion, you can go from division to division, right? But you need to clean that shit up. All right? Because once you face the franchise champion, wherever that franchise, I get it. Say the franchise champion goes up to some other weight class, right? And you beat the franchise champion. You shouldn't be undisputed because of that, because they're trying to make him up from a lower weight class. I get it. But you got to make some kind of fucking rule so that somebody can be undisputed at a lower weight class. If the franchise champion, there should be some caveat like this. If the franchise champion has if all the belts are at stake, okay? If all the belts are at stake between and the franchise champion has one of the belts, okay? So the franchise champion, for example, is at super lightweight. So light heavyweight versus light heavyweight. If Canelo goes up there. If he wins the WBO strap, he's still represented as the WBC champion because he's a champion. Right, fine. Let's say that he wins the WBO strap, okay, from Sergey Kovalev. It's okay because it don't matter because the WBC champion is Bivol. No, it's Bidabiev. So it won't matter in that case. But let's say somehow he goes up and he wins the WBC strap up there, right? It's kind of fucked up because let's say there's an interim champion there. What happens to him, right? What happens to him? Does he get promoted to WBC champion and the franchise champion just there? Or the franchise champion can't win the WBC belt, if I'm not mistaken. So that's fucked up too. There's a lot of questions, man. We're talking about the franchise champion. And it leads to a lot of messy situations. And I don't know if WBC is trying to destroy Undisputed, but it's very, very messy. And I think a lot of people are critiquing it. I heard, what was it that said it was very messy? Yeah, Michael Buffer. He was saying that's a very messy situation what the WBC is doing. And it's true. It's just very, very messy, because what you're saying is with regard to the WBC, the franchise champion, he's a WBC champion, but he never can win the WBC belt. Stupid. It's just stupid. I mean, so you go up in another weight class, you face a WBC champion, you beat him, but you don't get the WBC belt. So what happens? What happens in that case? If you stay in that fucking division, nobody can get the WBC belt. Well, I mean, what happens there? What happens? So it's very, very messy in my opinion. And people talking about murder's row and shit, but I don't believe in that shit. I understand where they're coming from. I just think the WBC, I don't know if they're trying to protect their fighters as ambassadors. I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. But right now, it looks really, really messy and stupid. And they probably thought it was a great idea at the time, but it's not a great idea. I I think that the WBA, at least they have a sort of laid out plan. The idea is that you want to free up the champion because he's earned it, because he's done a number of defenses or he's unified other belts. You want to free up that champion not to have mandatory, so he can go and unify in his division, whatever. This franchise champion bullshit is causing a lot of problems. They're trying to do the same thing, free up the mandatories, but go to multiple divisions. But in so doing, they're really messing up the opportunities that people have to actually unify the divisions. And also, they're messing up the opportunities for people to actually. It kind of messes up the division because if somebody's an interim champion, all of a sudden they're going to be promoted to the normal champion without having faced the right person. So you're kind of taking away from the sport the ability to be facing worthy opponents because now this guy don't have to face that guy. You know, whereas the interim would have been a mandatory. Now he no longer a mandatory. And it's kind of, I mean, we don't really enforce mandatories, but still at the same time, you're denying people the shots that they should get. And on top of that, now people can't unify they can't become undisputed once your fucking ass is in that division. You make it very hard for them to become undisputed. WBC has just done an asinine thing in that make it harder for people to be able to become undisputed. You've just made it more hard. The franchise champion can become undisputed easily, but the other people don't, and that's stupid. It's just really stupid, you know. And then other people now don't really gain the merit to become champions like usually they beat the lineal champion. Now you're taking away lineal championship from it and making it harder for people to be lineal champions. So it's just like really dumb. It's really stupid and dumb in many respects. And you put it now in the boxers' hands and their discretion. And you kind of give them an outlet where they don't have to face certain people. And to me, that's stupid again. Okay, it's stupid. And you make it limitless, so they could go to whatever division and decide, I'm not facing this dude, I'm not facing this dude, I'm gonna face that dude, and that's stupid, because it should be in a sense, especially when you're still talking about the best fights. You want the best fights. Sometimes the best fights come when somebody who's up and coming gets an opportunity to face somebody else. If Floyd, I'm used to Floyd Mayweather again. If Floyd didn't have the opportunity to face Gennaro Hernandez, and Gennaro Hernandez was a franchise champion because of all the work he did, then guess what? Guess what? He wouldn't be what he is today. Right? So a lot of WBC champions, whether it's Manny Pacquiao facing Chachai Sasakul or whoever, just because you put in the good work doesn't mean that, okay, if you want to, even if you want to be a super champion, let's say you want to be a super champion, which is great, and you are a super champion, right? And you are a super champion. It still gets messy because with super champion, no, it doesn't get as messy because your super championship can go from you. Somebody can win that. But in the case of franchise champion, you're not giving away nothing. They're giving you some kind of fucking diamond belt. Nobody cares about that. You want to be able to get something to add to it, to say, okay, I beat the man, I beat the dude, and therefore I got this strap that represents that. Belt's supposed to mean something. You win a strap. The important thing about straps, okay, unless you want to be a belt collector. Belt collectors are one thing. Belt collectors mean you face whoever. It doesn't really matter. They don't even have to be champion. They don't have to be nothing. I just want the belt. That works to a certain point. But it's really about opposition. You want the belt to be a memory about the opposition you faced. It's supposed to show that this opposition is at a certain level. Not just trying to be a belt collector and collect a belt without actually earning it. You know what I mean? Without facing the dude who had the belt. What's the use? Just collecting trinkets. Right? I'm just saying. Anyway, peoples, I got to get out of here. So I'm busy doing different things. I just wanted to sit down, chill out with you guys, talk a little bit. and get out of here. Deuces. So Burnett's out of boxing right now. Adonis Stevenson is looking at trying to impact lives and do something positive. Deuces, I'm out. Peace.